Good evening. You're listening live to the Extreme Movie Show. I'm your host, Rob, broadcasting to you in the Extreme Dojo. That means I'm in the Extreme Studios here in the Pinos Palace, just west of Orlando, Florida. That's Central Florida, the people that can't find Orlando, Florida on the map, aka Warlando, because all the crime and violence. I'm on my 5-acre palatial estate here with
Orlando.
Warlando. That's what they call it, baby. West Side, Pine Hills. You know it, okay?
Orlando there. Sorry.
No, I buy a little tiny Stark Lake here, and I've got 5 acres that Max and Daisy, my German Shepherd, Czechoslovakian Reds, shorthead, non-working light breed. That's one of the first times I've been able to get that without cracking. Patrol the grounds to keep us safe because we're going to travel to the Midwest, aka the Great Midwest, aka
Yes, where I have
well,
my
RDV. I'm asking you to join me on this plane flight, an extreme flight, where we're going to go across the world and go back in time to 1991, kind of like Superman in 1 or 2, and we're going to talk about a movie from Thailand called Dreaming the Reality, and it's an interesting movie because you and I are like, huh? But we think we recognize the name from the Inspector Wears Skirts, Sibelle Hugh, and then
Sibelle,
there's and then there's 2 other women in here, and this is a movie that has a bit of a different tone than some of the Shaw Brothers, Golden Harvest films we've been talking about really recently, whether they're the big name ones with Jackie Chan or Michelle Yeoh or Sammo Hung or a few others. I like the fact that the tone's different in here. We're going to talk about it because it's about 2 orphaned assassin chicks that in adulthood get caught up in something, and it's basically like a revenge thriller, but it's a little bit more serious oriented, I would say. Surprisingly, a decent watch. The one negative I would have is that even though it's available on an internet archive, depending on which part of the world you're in, you can see it for free. But even on those streaming services, I can't find it other than a shitty 480p copy rather than see a Blu-ray ROM. To me, this deserves to be shown in great color because it's a good-looking film, and while it's a bit longer than the average 90-minute martial arts film we've talked about, I think it's very solid, and there's some great stuff to talk about in here, and it's different. It kind of surprised me. What's your initial take?
Well, the fact that this is so rare, hard to find, the only thing that's uploaded is VHS quality. There is no DVD quality at all. There's uploaded this. It does not stream anywhere. This was a very low-budget movie, and I honestly, there's no Wikipedia for it either. I had to go this by IMDb what it is. I tried looking other sites, I can only find it up on Daily Motion, which had like 3 different versions, at least 2 versions. One was dubbed, English dubbed, but it was like mixed, and it looked like I felt like I was watching like those old Grindhouse movies where it's like you see the little green line stuff. It's a bad copy from film to to VHS or whatever. It's crackling, and so I said screw that, I went back and I just watched it in the original Chinese language, and the subtitles were in English, but sometimes it was hard to see them because they're in white. So of course they blend in when there's a white background. So but for the most part you can figure out what's going on. As I said, it's a very low budget movie, a very simple plot. Of a group of kids are basically were brought in by Uncle Fok, F-O-K, that's his name.
Yes.
Yes. And he trains them to be ruthless killers. The 2 sisters basically go on a murdering rampage, and they have their older brother, or I guess called Scorpion, who's just a dick from the beginning. From a little kid, he shoots her girl's rabbit. They're out there practicing guns. Like he's just, and then and then later on he shows up and just. Every time I see this guy is just like, I got the white suit on, I got the sunglasses. Everybody's got the sunglasses too.
Let's take this in stages, which is a little different than some things, because this opening, it's different.
I don't know, it's weird. Like I said, like this was like a very low budget movie, trying to be assassins, and then assassin bumps their head, fleeing the cops, gets amnesia, taken in by people. Nothing really like new that I've seen before.
Sure.
But overall, it was all right. The martial arts scenes are was basically what steals his movies.
Yes, absolutely.
Every scene, there's a fight scene in here, whether it's a foot chase, is great. Even get Thai boxing in this too.
Yeah. So the whole idea to kind of describe some of these themes, most everybody here on Extreme Movie Show has been exposed to. You got I've got amnesia. I don't know who I really am kind of shtick, because the 2 chicks kind of get split up. But kind of going back to the beginning here, I always talk about, and when we talk about themes here on the Extreme Movie Show, we're 80s based and we'll cover really anything. One of the themes I always mention a lot is this: do you have anybody that you can root for? And so what happens is we see early on, we get our so-called training montage, and basically it's this father teaching these two young foster girls how to be assassins and hitmen working for him. And you're right. He teaches them skills. It's kind of interesting to see these little girls shooting guns. But you're right. The brother part to it, Scorpion, is a bit of an ass shooting the rabbit, but they show it. And the other thing too I wanted to mention here at the beginning was that the thing that really struck me about watching this film between the two ladies is one's Chinese, one's Japanese. That doesn't matter. They have instant chemistry. They're very, very good looking. One's a tomboy, and one is kind of like feminine. So the feminine one is Silver Fox, and the tomboy is whatever. They're both very good. They're excellent. And later on, we'll talk about a third person. So what happens is he sends them out on a mission. And, we always talk about the hook, the opening gambit, right? The gun barrel scene if you're a James Bond fan. So here, we've talked about humor, some of the slapstick stuff, which is not kind of what I like all the time, but it's not bad, especially when you're getting it. Here, though, I agree with you. What makes it a little weird and odd in tone is we see the rabbit being shot, then we see them as adults, and they're very attractive women, but they have natural chemistry with each other. I'll mention something about that later because I think it's pertinent to the film.
Yeah.
But they go on this thing where they're going to put a hit out on the guy. So it's the classic, hey, let's booby trap the road. We'll hide in trees like we're ninjas, even though we're not. And then they're going to take this guy out. And so what happens is they got everything lined up. You can just tell that they've done this before. They seem professional about it. But something doesn't go to plan. You get a school bus that kind of comes on the road too. Yeah. And here's the thing. It's not funny. It's serious.
Yeah.
The school bus gets blown up, and then the bad guys come out, and they try to diffuse the situation by taking the guys out, which they're able to do. But not until they unload on shooting a school bus full of kids.
Yeah, I was like, why are they shooting the kids? Because they thought that was a suicide bus or bomber or whatever.
The bad guys didn't know it, so they're shooting them up. So then it just goes to shit, right?
Yeah.
We see them get them out of the situation, and so we see Silver Fox, the feminine one. She kind of gets struck by this, like, hey, what are we really doing here? Is this a kind of life that we're going to have? And her foster sister's like, hey, there is no life for us. She does the live for the moment thing or whatever. And she's tomboyish, but you can tell they care for each other, right? So I thought this was an interesting way to set kind of a serious adult psychological tone for it, because they do not hold back showing this bus getting shot and it burning up. And yes, it's low budget, but it's done where it's not laughable. I'm like going, okay, we would never see this in a Jackie Chan film, right?
Yeah. And I promise, I'm just looking at now the IMDb. I had the characters, as far as the actresses, mixed up because they look similar.
They do.
In certain scenes. So I just realized, like, the boxer that and the ex-policewoman, like that's the one that's there that owns the bar and stuff. That's about who.
We saw her from The Inspector Wears Skirts, which we reviewed here.
Yeah, and I thought she was the girl that was part of the assassin.
Right.
I didn't realize that was Moon Lee. That was the assassin. And they look very similar. Sort of
they
like
do.
Striking woman. And so I gotta say, though, the character that stood out to me the whole entire movie wasn't the main character. It was the sister. It was Sister Lan. It was Sibelle Hu. Because I just love it. She's chain smoking. She's got kind of got that tomboyish thing going on. She's protecting her brother. The stuff she does. She's got two props in here, which I thought was hilarious. One is a grenade.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she goes up to this guy, like this dog who's basically been trying to get her brother to fight for him so he can win round stuff. And because she caused a mess,
a triad member.
Yeah, she caused him to lose money and stuff. So I love it. She eventually goes over to them and she's like, she's got a grenade in her hand, after she hits a guy with a baseball bat and stuff. And then he's like, what? And then she walks. I love it. She walks around the corner after she leaves. She flicks it's a lighter. She lights her cigarette with the grenade, and then she does it later on with a gun.
Yes,
and it's a lighter gun. I just love the craftiness. I love the fact that she's always
she has balls.
Yeah, she's always making just pricking a joke. She doesn't give a shit anymore. She's basically had enough.
She's a loose cannon.
Yeah, I love it. And I was like, so her moment, whenever her scenes end, she steals the whole entire movie. We get about 2 boxing fight matches in here. One with the brother. Basically, he's getting his ass kicked. His name's Rocky the Tiger. I thought that was kind of funny, really. So I must be a fan of Rocky. But he basically is told he has to win, so he fights and he wins. And then later on, after she finds out he's fighting because she has his own fighting. So basically, she attacks him, and then he falls and gets hit by a car.
It's her
His
fault.
leg, and then she's complaining. And yeah, it is her fault. And I look because she's yelling at the driver. He's like, "How dare you hit my brother?" and stuff like this. And she's just kind of obnoxious in that way. But then again, then she has to go, and then she has to go tell the guy. Well, after the guy calls, like, and is like, "I need you to fight. I'll get your brother to fight." She goes on there and she fights in his place, and she goes against this huge guy, like 3 times their size, and they do a no holds barred basic kind of match.
Yeah,
And I love it. It was fun.
yeah.
I liked it.
It's like Ogre, but the bad version of it. I mean,
yeah,
like.
I liked it though because she got thrown around too.
She got her ass beat.
Yeah. But she still won the match though by cheating.
So what was interesting to me about the story is, okay, they give you a serious adult opening to get you hooked. Okay, I think these two ladies have great chemistry together.
Yeah.
I think one of the themes about this they don't really explore to the end, and I'm being serious when I say this, is are they lesbians for each other? And it only lightly gets explored, and I'll explain that at the ending. So usually the romantic angle, other than guys being dimwits and never even kissing a girl. Now, whether that was in Jackie Chan movies, a thing from Jackie Chan, or the way the industry is overseas in Asia, I don't know. So I'm not making fun of it. I'm not saying it's stupid, but it's pretty obvious because, hey, these girls are from the street. They're being raised. They've been exposed to a lot of extreme violence and criminality, even though they have a moral code to them. That's AKA Monarch Butterfly Programming 101 from MK Ultra, if you want to use the United States interpretation of it. But what's interesting is when they go on the second mission, it's basically the father's a little older now, and he's like, shit, somebody's got one of those 5 1/4-inch floppy disks that's got all the contact information, and that's the plot device. Hey, you guys got to get it. I don't care how you do it. That can't get in the hands. Here's the information. Blah blah blah. And Scorpion, their foster brother, he's got kind of like the pimp suit on there and the glasses. There's distinct visual characters in here, which I did like. It was easy if you didn't know names or you weren't familiar with these actors or actresses to tell them what's going on. And you could tell he was up to no good, right? So they go and they set up this not necessarily too elaborate scheme in an airport where you can see these ladies working together, and there's no stupid build up for it. You can tell what's going on, and 2 things happen that I think are great in this particular scene I'm getting ready to describe, and it's a theme throughout the rest of the movie. One, I hesitate to call it a score, but there is one. It's kind of a synthy score.
I love it.
But it's good, and it's just enough where whenever they play it, it really does a good job because it's not exciting and happy. It's not moody and sad. It's kind of tense, and it works for what they're doing.
I know. I love it because it reminds me of another. I listen to synthwave, not a lot,
right?
But I mean, it reminded me of another song by Nero, Your Eyes, and it's got the kind of same riffs. So I like to use the light the light synthwave in here. It wasn't overly powered, It's only used rarely.
Right.
First few signs, and most of the score for the movie was okay. It wasn't like rock and roll, or wasn't like orchestra,
Yeah. It's not distracting. So the second thing I wanted to mention here too is what I like about this movie, because again, we talk about characters. One of the things is who can you root for? Okay, we're supposed to root for these girls. Can they do that? Right. So. Yeah. One thing that's different in here, that makes it kind of cool to me in a really markish sort of way, is I like the fact right off the bat, everybody's got nicknames, because the feminine one is Silver Fox. The tomboyish one is Black Cat, right? Mr. Falk, F-O-K. He's the father, right? We'll talk more about him at the end. But I'm like, okay, this is cool. We've got Silver Fox and we've got Black Cat, right? 2 cunning, female-ish type characters, animal-wise. And we don't have to get a lot of dialogue. And at least in this movie, when they shoot guns, people get fucking hit and there's blood and it's graphic and all that, because this scene here is one of the best to me in terms of action, even though it has guns and it's a girls with guns type of movie. So to kind of back up and load up the scene, from the American perspective, the 70s was... You got Enter the Dragon, you got Bruce Lee, then he died, everything became mainstream. You had Kung Fu. We had the canon film craze where they said, hey, we're going to make ninjas our big thing from the 70s into the mid-80s. Then you had everybody doing guns. And then pretty much the last bit, even though we had some potential action stars like Seagal and JCVD going from the 80s into the 90s. They transitioned to big budget movies and not martial arts. But we still had a little bit of guys like Jeff Speakman doing things, but they went straight to DVD and it died. However, there was a nice window here that Cynthia Rothrock kind of came in between two of them, and she was what we call like the queen of the girls with guns. Well, that's the American one, right? Here we got these ladies in it because they've been in several films, which I imagine we'll be reviewing. So I'm watching this going, hey, this is pretty good. So they see the bad guy in the suit, and he's surrounded by two of his lackeys, and you can see they're walking up. And just like the scene at the beginning with the bus scene that went wrong, this is not going to go well. And it's interesting because, you know, the amnesia thing has to happen. So the hook is when that guy gets up the stairs, I'm going to be honest with you here. I was mildly shocked, even though I've seen things like this before, because they went the simple way out, which if you analyze, it's kind of dumb. But I like how it turned out in terms of the action and what it meant for the story. So I'm going to give it a pass. You see the shot of the guy surrounded by his two guys going up the escalator, right? There's a little bit of gap between, you know, somebody, and they get towards the top, and you see the shot because it's filmed really good. And you see one of the ladies just sitting there while the other one's kind of hidden behind a pole. She just literally takes her gun out and shoots him, and that's it. And so when she shoots the guy that's got the briefcase with the handcuffs on it, it kind of gets stuck or whatever, and then the other one shoots it, and it falls, and the other one jumps and catches it. But then you've got the police coming. Of course, you're in an airport, so there's lots of people. How do you get yourself out of it? And what I thought was funny in a good way, not a stupid juvenile way, and I wanted to hear what you thought about this, is while these ladies kind of get separated and end up on motorcycles, which will continue in a moment, when they're laying there on the ground, the one of them has the briefcase, but where she shot the guy, she shot him dead, but she shot him just above the wrist. So the hand is still attached, and she's running around with the briefcase with a hand on it till it falls off. I thought that was pretty fucking cool. I'm gonna be honest, man. I liked it.
Eventually, and when the cops come in, and everybody's laying on the ground because of gunshots, she shoots a quick run. You know, it's like, you know, it gets everybody to come up to use it as a shield, so they can't fire because there's civilians. So I kind of like that. You know, there's a lot of cleverness in this. Sorry, dealing with the cops. The difference between the movie is that there's not tons of squad cars coming up. This is basically like they're coming up and they got a truck.
That's the fastest response time of all time in any movie I've ever seen. I know. You know what I'm saying? Well, they're 30 seconds they're there, and there's like 40 of them. I'm like, oh my god!
I gotta say though, this movie felt like it was sped up though. I don't think
it did a little bit.
At certain parts, I kind of feel like it was actually sped up a little bit on purpose. Like they actually, because I don't think, because like I'm like they're moving pretty fast, but I'm like, but still, it's like, well, maybe they are just that fast.
Well, let me explain this and see what you think.
Yeah,
we've talked about Lord of the Rings briefly, maybe years ago. Okay, and I believe that was one of the first digital films that they shot at 60 frames per second. Now the human eye sees approximately 24 frames per second. So if something's not at it, your eye can perceive it differently. Usually more above, they say it results in a smoother frame rate. So fast action with lots of frames, you can, like say in sports, for example, find out, you know, when something's leaving a hand, or if a ball hits a line, or a tennis ball comes off a racket, you can see it better. On old TVs, you really couldn't. So it's interesting from the sports analysis too, but you can also do things like speed stuff up. So if you film a little less than 24 frames each individual second, or edit it, it'll kind of be a little jumpy. And I agree with you. I don't know if this was sped up or if it was shot at a slightly lower frame rate, because it's not the gross, obvious, sped up distortion, ugliness we've seen in, say, Sean Connery fights in James Bond, which, by the way, we're going to be reviewing one this Sunday here, the first Timothy Dalton one, as we go in order with the young 20-something Professor Pixel, who's seen all 1,225 episodes of Dark Shadows and has reviewed all of Twin Peaks with me and season 1 of Columbo. Check that out if you will. It looks that way, right?
It was the driving scenes, I think, were actually sped up more than actually the fighting.
You think the driving or the motorcycles?
It's hard to tell. Maybe the motorcycles, but I mean, it just felt like in certain parts of the movie is randomly like, okay, we're speeding up a little bit now. Like, I don't know.
Well, to your point, you mentioned earlier the second storyline that's going on here that they marry up to, which I thought added a little bit of depth to it, is the bar owner played by Sibelle and her brother, who's a really good martial artist actually, and was not bad at all. I think he was pretty solid, but he never got a lot of fame.
No,
there are people that end up shortly meeting up with what would be Silver Fox here after getting separated. So that's their different story. And what it is here is when they get separated, they cleverly figure out a way out. So one of them kind of like able to kind of jump out a window and climb. The other one does it. And what I really like too, and maybe because girl with those guns, I go, all right, I've seen Michelle Yeoh on a motorcycle. I'm not going to see any other woman on it. Well, they both get on and try to escape. And one of them does an easy thing. She just does a circle right around the roundabout and all that, but she kind of crashes, and another one kind of gets blown up by cops and ends up in the river.
Before they even get the chase, though, she's trying to get get on the dirt bike, and then they're shooting at the dirt bike. So and then she drops the case. The other one, Moon, comes up and just grabs the case, he scoops down the motorcycle, and allows the other one to get away. They go in different directions. So I mean, I did like this, as far as it came to Yukari Ôshima plays she's Black Cat. She plays the one that's looking for her brother with
the shorter haired one. Yes.
Yeah, shorter haired one. The sunglasses. I'm like, this is so 80s Hong Kong.
It's so cool though.
I know. And she's got the short hair, and she's like, we've seen this before in other movies where
let me ask you this. At this scene, I particularly noticed something and didn't know if it mattered to you or not. Usually I talk food and fashion here when we're doing things, and you do guns and some other stuff. Did you notice that for the most part, Black Cat wore black and Silver Fox were mostly white?
White, yes. I noticed on purpose.
Okay. Yeah. It's fairly obvious. Doesn't necessarily amount to anything, but the visual is there. Like, do we think
it was like a uniform? Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. And then Scorpion, he just, if you look down over there on the bottom right corner next to there's Uncle Fock, and then the guy with the hat with the gun, and he just wears that suit. Yep. That's Scorpion, and then he just wears the sunglasses all the time, and he's just like, he is just a dick in the whole entire movie. And Uncle is just like, he is
Uncle Fock, Father Fock.
Yeah, Foster Fock.
Yeah, Foster
Fock. Both those guys, they're ruthless. And you talk about looking for a character to root for. That's going to be Silver Fox. That's going to be Moon Lee, because after the kids are killed, she cannot. They're sitting there at the dinner in a restaurant, and she's drinking the wine, and she says it looks like blood to her. She can't until the kid's screaming. She's like,
"Yeah, what is she doing? Poolside ordering a Bloody Mary? I don't get it." Because that's what happens. She stops, and all of a sudden she sees all these kids screaming. I'm like, "Oh, I'd already forgotten about the kids burning up and being shot up all bloody in the school bus."
I mean, they're taught to not be having emotional attaches, no sentiments. Is it their uncle said sentimental get killed from the very beginning when Scorpion kills the bunny rabbit after they're shooting all the cans, bottles, and she says, "Look, you killed my rabbit." He's like, "So?" It's like, sentimental will get you killed, and like blah blah blah. I'm like, oh, Uncle is a dick.
Chill pill.
Hello, Marania. Question: does the fighting dynamic energy change when it's women being brutal in this movie as opposed to men?
No, they go at it. That's the good thing about it.
And that's only American movies they did.
I felt like these women, despite whether we thought they were filmed or edited to look like it was sped up, the striking and stuff is really, really good in here. It feels different than what we're seeing with Michelle Yeoh, and they're slightly different forms. Where I'm certainly no expert in it too, but. The one thing about the fighting that you mentioned earlier that went 4 rounds, a couple rounds too many probably, even at 480p, you can clearly see where they're pulling their punches and all that, but it still looks good, and the sound editing is good. But you can totally see that they miss. But the ladies are believable. I mean, they're really getting into it. I always say Cynthia Rothrock always looked like she was very forceful and explosive, where some of the other women that we've talked about, like Michelle Yeoh, it's more of a finesse type or whatever. Yeah. Here, these women just explode, and it seems a little bit more kick-oriented. Not maybe Muay Thai-ish or whatever you want to call it, but definitely they emphasize more kicking and striking than they do takedowns or anything else.
There's a scene here where the girls are basically, they whack this guy and stuff, and the bus scene, and later on they go to this little restaurant. They're sitting down eating and stuff. And all of a sudden, the guy kind of sits down behind him, like, okay, because they see his shoelaces kind of untied or whatever. Kind of like, okay, it's good.
He does the "I'm going to tie my shoelace in front of you" thing that they pick up on.
Yeah, and then they see these 2 guys arguing over stuff, and like they know it's a hit. And I love this. Like the one girl gets stabbed. I think it's Yukari Ôshima. She plays Black Cat. She gets stabbed in the shoulder. And then they all get these long poles at the kind of shaved off, kind of like spears, little bit, and it's just everyone dies in there, and they get out of there as they hear the cops coming after they basically like take out all the guys, and the kicks are nice. You're getting kicks to the chin, face, stuff. It looks beautiful. It looks great. Everything in here is really good. Even the guys fight, the boxing match was kind of cool though, because he's kind of like it
feels very physical.
Yeah, it is, especially. And then they do the slow motion. I love that sometimes,
And you get the reverb sound. So, like when you get that third kick where somebody gets stunned and drops down to their knees, it's like that. And you're like, okay, I don't mind that. That doesn't bother me at all.
But the brutality, like I said, and a lot of those movies we're reviewing here, no matter if it's Jackie Chan, whatever, whether it's guy or girl, if you're playing a character, playing a hitman or hit woman, you are brutal. And it hurts, we saw that with Cynthia Rothrock versus Michelle, whatever her name is. She's Japanese bodybuilder or Chinese bodybuilder, and when she was playing a villain and stuff, it was just like it's always like the women fight just as well as the men do, and then because this wasn't a comedy like the Cynthia Roth movies, some of those where the guys are kind of goofy and stuff. I mean, the brother was in here. He was but he was still a serious fighter.
He was just a basic, good-hearted guy. Yeah. He wasn't a dweeb or anything. He's a good-looking guy, and he can fight really good. And he was a nice guy.
Yeah, and
not in the shitty way we guys call other guys nice guys or women call nice guys. His sister
was overbearing, Sibelle, and that's what's supposed to be a character. And honest, she's being an ex-policewoman, so I mean, she probably got used to being having to prove herself around guys. So she'd always kind of like bully her brother a little bit because,
Yeah, she was in charge. Yeah, and it's hard because while she's definitely, I agree with you, has the most personality, I think her character, because of the way it's portrayed, you've got a lot to risk here. So the one thing about these two women with their great chemistry when they're on screen with each other is the fact that you definitely feel like they're sisters. You definitely feel like they got a connection. I'll argue at the end of the act, you could almost look at it as being sexual, but they don't go there.
I don't see anything like that.
I will explain it at the end, though. I'm not being a goof. No, I am not at all. It's so obvious from the get-go. They sleep in the same bed. That's one thing. But let's continue. Well, you could argue the way that they want to choose to tell a story. Is it a revenge film? Is it whatever? Because these women are kind of emotional, brooding, but it's not on the whiny, overbearing way where they're frumping around. They got serious shit to deal with, and they're dealing with it in a good way, but it's not like overbearing, like, everybody's going to die at the end. Although that's not exactly true, because basically you're right. We get the second story act basically going on here, which is kind of cool. And we see her sticking up for her brother and all that too. And her brother really wants another life. But what happens is Silver Fox, when she falls into the river, they can't find her. She, of course, comes to and wanders around in a daze and all that, stumbles into the bar with them. And, of course, the guy gets smitten with her. So they put her to work, and she's like, okay, y'all are really nice to me and all that, doesn't know who she is. And then eventually it becomes full circle because the only person that might have the information is this triad op guy who's the one that fixes the fights, who's not a good dude, which is the reason why she was overprotective of her brother. But they go to get information from him because now Black Cat is basically being looked at as, hey, is she a traitor? Did she turn? You better fix this. So they're there in Bangkok, and the guy wants to get the guy to fight. She's like, no. There's a great pool scene where he's got the chicks massaging him and all that, and he's drinking, orange soda or whatever, and she does the whole grenade thing or whatever. But before you get that, and you find out it's the lighter gun, like you mentioned, she's got that Japanese baseball bat or whatever, the wooden one, not this aluminum crap. And she just beats the shit out of people for a split second. I'm like, damn it, that is cool. You can feel that it's serious violence. It's not like Jackie Chan who could beat me up, but at the end of the day, I just shake my head and say, you win.
I like this because she knows that she's a girl and she needs an equalizer, so she uses that, basically, to get an advantage of. But then she relies on the grenade,
But by this point, because of what we've seen her do, fighting the big guy in place of her brother and other stuff, she's not afraid to go in there. So it's believable that she would be literally, no pun intended, a loose grenade. Like I said, a loose cannon when she has it. And she says, "Don't make them fight. Leave us alone." But the guy shows up at the bar and says, "Hey, I've got a business proposition." And she's like, "Oh, you can leave." They're all there. So what's a bad guy going to do? All right, guys, get your guns in there, shoot the place up, kill them all. But that's what Silver Fox snaps. She gets the gun, and just takes everybody out. And it's cool watching how the other people, while they're defending themselves and know how to, they're going, oh shit, what's going on here? I thought this was a nice little action scene because this is when things pick up for the final act.
Definitely, because at this point, basically, Silver Fox had lost her memory until she sees the gun there and then starts triggering. No pun intended. But she gets, she gets
poor kids on flames crying with blood running down her forehead.
it's basically instinct, and then she starts taking out guys one by one, and even at the end, she goes and she kills the triad leader, shoots him, kills him. The bar.
Did you expect that?
Honestly, the fact that she's an assassin, I expected it.
Okay.
I mean, normally most movies would have like, no, don't shoot. But because this is a type of movie where she's a killer, and and she's just had enough of this, she's so confused. So maybe they could have had it, but I thought it was actually kind of cool though that they actually have her just just off the guy. Here's the guy's thinking, like,
with that kill shot, she comes to, and she knows who she is and what she must do.
Yep. And like I said, and at the end, after this, like she's basically telling the brother, hey, Rocky, we can't be together. I'm a killer and all that stuff. And he's like, I don't care. Like I was, confesses his love.
Quite say that though.
No, but I mean, like pretty much, you could read it though.
You think that's what she was saying? I think she's being honest and open with him because he's sitting there saying, hey, we've worked together. And this could be cheesy, but he's like, hey, I've worked my whole life to try to find something. And when I do, I know where I need to go to because he's directionless, right? And she basically has a great line in here. She doesn't really say yes or no to his advances, which again, maybe she's thinking about her sister and all that too. But she's like, I'm Silver Fox, Moon doesn't exist anymore because that's what they were calling her, right?
They're calling her Gold.
Or Gold, that's right, because she had a gold shroud, so Gold doesn't exist anymore. So she's not saying no to the guy.
No.
She's not saying yes. So that's what we call a punt, a push, right? A poker, right?
They get interrupted by her other sister, by Black Cat, who shows up and why'd you abandon us? She says, here's the disc, let me be. Her sister's like, I can't do it. He's gonna kill you. So then she shoots her in the leg, and then
they fight.
And they fight a little bit.
At a temple. This is cool.
And then, of course, the Scorpion comes in as a dick and then kills Black Cat from behind with the gunshot. And I was just like, oh, I did not expect that. It was just like slow mo. It was like you could see the impact. It's like JFK all over again. Like it was just like, oh.
Once that happened, I went, with some of the stuff we've seen with the kids, this is different. You're killing one of the two main characters.
Yeah.
Was not expecting that.
And these are all three of these women are exceptionally popular at the time as far as martial arts going.
Yes.
Yukari Ôshima, Sibelle Hugh, and Moon Lee.
Mm-hmm.
As Anthony pointed out, Angel Enforcers, Angel Terminator stuff. These women were involved in a lot of these different movies, with girls with guns. Could go on, but so it was kind of interesting to see they did that. It's like, oh, they took out one of the big three because, to be honest, everyone else in this movie was kind of a sidekick to these women.
Agreed. I would say so, but you didn't. So even though I thought the supporting cast was fairly solid, I mean, I didn't think they distracted from anything. I like the fact that here, because they're looking for this orange 5 1/4-inch floppy disk, not double-sided, if you know what I mean.
I know.
Okay. Well, their father is the one that needs the disc, right? So he's coming personally. So the detective chick's like, hey, look, we don't need to go there. I know she got shot.
Well, Scorpion killed the brother quickly.
Yeah. So they have the grave sequence there where she puts his boxing gloves on her, which I thought was a nice touch.
Yeah.
And so they're having a little thing. I'm like, wow, they killed two nice people. One of them that's supposed to be in love. Maybe they killed the people that were supposed to be in love with the other partner, which is a thing there. Exactly. And the fact that she didn't really acknowledge Amayo's feelings towards her, which is what we can only perceive as being the first time to it, made me go, is there a lesbian thing here? Because the whole fight is, I don't want to go back to Dad. And she's like, you have to. He's going to call you a traitor. He's going to send people after you. He's going to kill you. You cannot have a life. So she walks away, and Black Cat shoots the ground. She keeps walking, and she shoots her in the leg, right? And then she gets shot, and you're like, what the fuck, right? And then they shoot that. I'm like, this is not how endings of movies go.
Yeah. As far as the lesbian thing, I didn't get any vibe from that whatsoever. That thing. It's just that the sister basically is now, the sister land by Sibelle, who basically tells her, it's like, don't be idiots.
Right.
Don't
waste
go
the
to
plane ticket money.
yeah. Because she's like, why? He's like, he's gonna come to you. He wants to hear something he wants, And it's like, and the sister's like, it's like finally Silver Fox is like, are you an ex-robber? What I mean, like, how are you so good? It's like, she's like, no, ex-policewoman, and so means then you kind of get the explanation. Now it makes sense why she's so kind of crass
Good.
stuff, because remember 80s women had to prove themselves, especially in the police force, because guys looked down on them, and so they decided, well, let them come here. We're gonna booby trap the whole entire freaking hut area. We're gonna be this little hut thing, and with grenades and tripwires attached to them, and guns hidden underneath the floor, underneath the actual houses, which are raised up. They're kind of like beach houses. Americans are in Thailand.
This looks more like a what would you call it? A retreat, like a religious retreat kind of area, because it's an old style open air building. I mean, it's supposed to be in Bangkok, and it was filmed there. So I'm sure it's one of their temples, but yeah, it's a nice set piece for them to fight.
It's basically when people have all the martial art movies where they have the old feudal Japan stuff.
Yes, exactly.
Drunken Master, the little huts they live in. Yeah, and so obviously Uncle comes there, brings Scorpion, and we gets Cebu or Sibelle with a shotgun.
Yeah, single barrel, right?
Yeah, and she's pump action. She's just taking guys out left and right. And I was waiting, like, are they gonna have her shoot twice without forgetting the pump, the gun?
But no, she was shooting and hurting the guys to where the tripwires would be at. Some of them hit it and would take out groups, and then she would shoot at some of the bombs so they would blow up. So I've told you, guns for gun's sake, stupid. In my opinion, it's an easy way out. But here they make it kind of graphic when they get shot, but they make it where the girls are kind of outsmarting because of the numbers that they're overwhelmed with, right? But it's one of those things. They're on their home turf, and the bad guys don't know it, but eventually they all start seeing it, so they start stepping over it.
Well, I love it because I'm like, at first, like you see the guys coming in, they see the guy sees a tripwire, he's like, I'm not gonna fall for that. Sends the guys into the hut, they shoot the whole place up, and they're not in there. I immediately knew they're probably on the freaking roof getting ready to take out you guys.
Yeah,
at least one of them was. Then the other girl was in the tree.
Before we segue to the final fights, I want to mention this one action scene because I think it's very underrated here. I guess it's Scorpion, but I guess his hat fell off or whatever. But he's got the sunglasses too. He's chasing Sibelle Hu's character outside while Moonli's on the inside fighting Uncle Falk. And what I liked about here is, okay, we know that all the disposable people shooting guns are going to get blown up, and they do, so we get that. Okay, that's fine, big deal. It's kind of cool seeing her because it looks like she can handle the shotgun. But they're on the perimeter outside around trees and wood, and so he comes out there. He's got the dark shirt and the white jacket on front. So he's chasing her, and she's trying to lure him by where the tripwires are at. She's ready to pull a string.
There's 3 grenades attached to
right. But the guy starts running, and they all start going off. So even though this is pyrotechnics or whatever, it's still a cool stunt because at the last second he has to run and jump. But when he jumps and lands, he lands on a wire which blows up. And of course, you would think that would kill him.
Bloody. Yeah.
But when he stands up and his face is a bloody mess, that's not funny, stupid like Talks Avengers. That's like, this is fucking gross. It's disgusting. It looked really brutal. I like that.
It looked like Terminator. The guy just stand up, he said, he's like, I'm not dead yet. I'm still kind of but I'm gonna fight.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, he'd already been running. Remember, she shot him in the in both shoulders, and he's still going. And I'm just thinking, the other girl got Silver Fox got shot in the leg and the thigh, and she at least limped after it all.
I know.
Picking on her sister, but then all of a sudden it's like, wow, I wonder how long it took for Uncle to get there, or she's just using adrenaline to get through the pain.
I appreciate how Uncle Falk was there, and he's basically like, hey, I raised you guys, or whatever like that. But he's fighting Silver Fox, right? So they're inside
with the cane.
With the cane, because she's kind of hurt. This is kind of cool. And he kind of, I don't want to say overpowers her, but probably gets the better of her until they get to outside where she can use her smarts, right? But there's one obvious wire scene in there where she does a couple kicks rising up in the air. I whatever, I'm not a fan of that, but I get it. But when they get outside, what's really cool and creative, which again, the martial arts is one thing, being a woman versus a man is another. the good use of guns not being what kills people, but doing stuff, I think was demonstrated here. But what I really liked here, besides the one stunt, was here we still see tons of these tripwires everywhere. So they're fighting, and both of them equally get to a point where like they get tripped and they fall to the ground, but they're almost going to land on the wire. So they have to prevent themselves from not hitting the wire to set off the grenades. And yet there's a couple scenes where they're having to fight and they're really close to the grenade thing. That was a nice creative touch. We've not seen stuff like it, right? The only problem I'm gonna have here with the ending, and then I'm gonna hand it to you, and I'm being honest here, is okay, Black Cat and Silver Fox are there. They've got the gun. He's on his knees. He's been defeated. They don't shoot him to end the movie. They're assassins. Yes, this is where she's got the gun at his face, and it turns out to be the lighter gun where she lights up her cigarette, signaling the end of the fight. We've defeated you, and she throws it away, and the cops come, roll credits. I would have liked to have seen them shoot him. Oh, I'm being honest. I don't get why they didn't. Doesn't make sense with everything that happened in this movie.
They'd rather have him just go to jail and then get killed in prison.
Yeah, but how would you know that from what happened in this movie? You wouldn't.
You're banking on that. You know that's they basically assuming that he's going to get arrested and something's going to happen to him eventually. Now, right. Like they wash their hands of him because the guy was at the end. He's like, shoot me, and they're like, no, because the guy was afraid to go to prison that much. Yeah. There, so like the best thing is let him go to prison.
Now, one thing I appreciated with this final fight with the uncle was he did a good job. I mean, it's interesting to see. We talk about women fighting and size. Yeah. There's a reason why there's weight classes in sports. Men, women, whatever. It's a thing. But it was interesting because he still kind of slightly bested her till they got outside where she could use her creativity and use of the area around her on their home turf. But he, as a middle-aged older guy with salt and pepper hair, he looked legit. And I don't know him that well. Maybe he's been in some things that we've covered here on the Extreme Movie Show. But like I said before, when we did the Inspector Wears Skirts, that was kind of more of the goofy kind of girls with guns that had a lot of women in there. That was like an entourage, right? So while our different films have had different reactions with different audiences, the one thing I really liked about this film, for my final thoughts, is it's above average. I think for a low-budget movie, it's very entertaining. While the second act is more kind of storytelling building, it still works to me, and I appreciate how they married up pretty much the two groups, the sisters and then the brother-sister combination. And you're led to believe that, Moon Lee, who's trying to get out of it, and the brother, who was underrated in this film, you think that they might have a romantic thing to end it, and you could see it coming. It doesn't happen. It doesn't end in the typical way that you would expect. I'm not saying it's bad. My preference would have been to shoot. I just think that's the biggest flaw of the movie, is that it's not with the characters that we've seen. At least with Black Cat, I think she would have at least done it for her sister, right? Because she acquiesces and shoots her in the leg and says, "Hey, I shot you. Now you're dead." Basically saying, "Okay, run off. Go find a happy life," or whatever, right? And then of course the brother dies. But I got to tell you, I was impressed with all the women in here, more so than the guys, even though the brother I thought was solid. This would make me want to watch more of the films that some of these women are in, because it's a little bit more serious. It's more for my kind of taste. It's definitely more of an adult level film rather than the ones that we see are juvenile. And we don't mean that with any disrespect, but a Jackie Chan film, to me, it's safe if an 8-year-old kid watches it, because the violence is more slapstick, not gory, bloody. And certainly there's no sex or romance in it. So here, it's just a little bit more adultish, but surprisingly very good. Never heard of this movie at all. Heard of some of the women. I'm glad we watched it.
Yeah, Yukari Ôshima, basically, remember Millionaire Express? She was the samurai girl in there.
Oh, we commented on that fight.
That's where we know. That's where we know her from.
Gotcha. And that was the one that played Black Cat.
Yep.
And she's Japanese, I believe.
I believe so.
Where the actress who played Silver Fox in here, she's Chinese, so she's more of like, she was the what we'd call the feminine one in here, the one with the longer hair and all that. Everybody's beautiful in here to me too. Of course, Sibelle Hugh playing the cop, she's more of what you would call a female Asian Jack McClane kind of sort of. I was getting those kind of vibes from her. I don't know how you felt.
And also
very American in her delivery.
So you also know the guy who was playing the triad guy right here. You know who that is? He's from Drunken Master.
Okay. He's been in a lot of stuff. I know that.
Yeah, we've seen.
I just don't like his teeth, so I didn't really.
Yeah, that's how you recognize him.
Disgusting. Yeah.
Hsia has Hutsu. I can't I can't pronounce it, butchering it, but
Hmm.
yeah, he's been in a couple of those. Uh, yeah, there's like I said, there's a lot of movies. He's also in Writing Wrongs.
Okay.
You know, so there's quite a few names in here. Now, the other thing I want to talk about is Ronnie James Dio. Did you catch where he was in here?
So no, and I'm not you to explain it. And I thought it was a nice little nugget you came
Yeah,
across. Ronnie James Dio, obviously from Dio, he was in
oh,
Black Sabbath, of course, in
Rainbow.
there at
Yeah,
some point. He's passed some years ago, maybe 10, 12 years ago. Operatic trained singer, little Elfie guy, and all that. Incredible, great live performances. Died. If you're in American heavy metal rock and roll, check out Ronnie James Dio or just Dio. Some great stuff. He'd kind of gotten a second win RDV in the late '80s with like Dream Evil and some other stuff there too. But really, really, really great guy
oh,
there
that's
too. But
mine.
I have no idea how he's associated with this movie. So please enlighten us.
So I didn't catch him at first, but I'm thinking there's only a scene like I could probably think where he'd probably be in is when they're basically a Scorpion and Black Cat are looking for their sister. They come across this guy. He's wearing the red bandana. He's at this club, and
The
I'm
strip
thinking,
club,
yeah, I'm thinking
the
that's
dance
where Ronnie
club.
James Dio was in there singing, because yeah, because he's credited as being in there, and I admit I was watching this movie and it moved really fast. There's some of these scenes,
Yeah.
so I bet if you go back and pause it, he's probably in there, probably at one of the clubs. Who knows? Oh, they're playing his music. I don't know. Maybe that's what it was. I didn't hear. I know. I didn't hear his music played at all.
It
But
didn't sound like it, but to your point, the only versions we can find legally on
yeah,
Internet Archive, which is free for you to download and watch, is only, like you said, VHS quality. I think 480p is the highest I could see. I did
there's
see one
yeah.
other one on YouTube or Daily Motion that looked like it was spliced between possibly a DVD and others because they would go from English dubbing to the subtitles back and forth, and I noticed that, and also a color grainy thing flicking back and forth. This movie, I think, would be even more entertaining if we saw it with a high def quality. It's that good looking of a film, and they've got nice locations. That kind of stuff can make up some filler for these movies because it makes you feel like you're over there where they're at. I mean, that's we've talked about this all the time. It's a visual medium. Show us stuff. These women are good looking. The
Right.
fights are good looking. You've got stylish clothes with people and all that. That's cool. That's a nice start.
I mean, there's so many of these little low budget movies too. I was trying to. There's one that's Sibelle who's in it with Johnny Yen. It's called Crystal Hunt. It came out the same year. Trying to find it. It's hard to find these things because these are very low budget movies. They probably didn't make copies of them. No one's really upload them. Even just without English subtitles, I can't find any copies whatsoever. I'm gonna have to like see if I can go online if there's a collection for Sibelle who are it's in. But there's a one where it's basically two cops search for a crystal with healing powers. That's what it's called. And then what I read about it is basically it's just tons of chase scenes and tons of pointless fighting. But still, I want to watch it though because I love martial arts stuff. I love that. But I mean, this movie at first I'm like, can I even find this? And I was trying to find a good copy and stuff. The other one I was looking for is She's Shoe Straits.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a lot of movies I want to review, but I'm also finding it's getting harder and harder to find the copies of them to watch, or even
It's
paying
true.
for
You bring up a
rights.
good point. It's interesting to cover a film that you can find, but nobody's
Yeah,
heard of or seen. And
yeah.
two immediately come to mind. I mentioned years ago, we did one with William Shatner called Impulse, where after Star Trek in the 70s, he was supposedly bankrupt, living in his car, would do
Mhm.
anything for work. They did something filmed on the west side of Florida in Tampa, where he plays a gigolo, a psychopath. And it's really interesting in a very low budget sort of way. But then we most recently, I you never know what people are going to listen to or not. But the fact that the very first quadriplegic black belt stars as a hitman in a movie called Mr. No Legs, where he's choking people out and all that stuff. And the guy's a motherfucker, but you think it's a joke kind of goof thing or whatever. We're watching this movie going, this is gritty, this is gutty, and it's Mr. No Legs, and nobody paid attention to it, and yet you can find it out there. So you just never know, right? Color
Yeah,
Night, everybody watches. You know, a body double, Brian De Palma. I told you I love this film. Nobody's ever heard of it on the Extreme Movie Show, but yet it's like 20, 30,000 views already just because for some reason, you know, and I don't know. It's interesting, but these martial arts films, to your point, it's hard because when you want to deep dive into it, you got to be able to find them. We like to be able to tell people that are in channel now listening and all that, hey, we can find this here and here. And we don't advocate for you to buy, sell, short, or cover if you're a financial people, because this is an entertainment channel. We don't want you to go sailing the seas and do anything illegal. We certainly wouldn't want to do anything like that for the algorithm. But we do look to see where we can find them, because our international audience may have easy access, and you and I, we don't necessarily have that.
Well, Anthony said that Germany's releasing a lot of them on Blu-ray as media books. So I'm thinking like, that's great if it's in, for people who are in Germany, if it's spoken in German language or English, German dubs, but I'm like, I need an English sub, at least I can at least watch it, understand what's going on. Otherwise I'm just watching and just like, I have no idea what they're saying. That's kind of one of the language barriers there is. I mean, but the other part is, like I said, some of these went to maybe they were shown in the theater once, just never got released on physical media, or it went to VHS, and nobody's selling the VHS anymore. And if you get it, it's like I said, it's not English subtitled. It's only in the Cantonese or Chinese language. So I mean, I'm sure there are websites that are out there that are doing, like 88, is another one where they actually are taking. They understand there is people who want to watch these movies, but there's nowhere to find them. So, like I said, I'm happy to find the one we can. Like I said, I always tell everybody, if you can find a movie that you want us to review, but let us know if it's available anywhere, because you can recommend something that's like, you should watch this. I'm like, sometimes I can't find copies at all, or the copies are so bad, like 480p. Like this one had good audio. I've come across 480p where the audio is horrendous.
Yes,
and it's unwatchable. It's just like, and I said, I admit I will go to Daily Motion for most of my movies, trying to find them. If I can't find a copy there, I will go online, look on Amazon, even Vudu. I have quite a few Jackie Chan collections on Vudu, or I buy physical media too as well. I mean, I'm always trying to buy physical media.
Tubi's been a gold mine for a lot, but not.
Oh my gosh, Tubi is great. Like I said, if we have to, if we can't find some of these, I'm going back to the Sonny Chibas. There's Sister Street Fighters. Those are all over the Toys. They're always on Tubi, so it's great.
Any other final thoughts?
Not much. Like I said, as I tell everybody, let us know down below in the comment section if you have a movie that we haven't done and you think that we should cover.
Doesn't have to be martial arts. We're just in the phase right now.
But this Sunday we're gonna try and review the Kevin Costner movie, the cowboy western one he did. I think it's called
the first part of it's a 3-hour one. It's one that's out in theaters here in America that people are shitting on a lot or whatever, for whatever reason. It's the one he's had issues with Yellowstone on. We're going to tackle that because we do like westerns.
Yeah, I believe it is called Horizon American Saga.
Yeah.
So, and honestly, just that title, what reminds you of? How the West was won. That's what it reminds you of.
I'm interested to see how it goes.
It's
we don't get the chance to see westerns anymore, but boy, were they popular for the longest time, up until about 2 generations ago.
Well, yeah, like I said, I'm watching Alias Smith and Jones. I'm loving that, but I know it's gonna like take a quality dip because one of the main actors killed himself. So, like by the second season, it's like I don't. The narrator takes over as it replaces the guy. I'm like, when you try replacing the actor with somebody else, and then it's like, no, sorry, it doesn't work. People said it worked for Spartacus. For me, it didn't. I liked Andy.
It didn't work for Casablanca in the 80s when they tried doing, I think, a short, like a miniseries or a TV show.
Yeah.
It did not work, obviously, for Conan. It obviously did not work for a lot of these reboots. It just doesn't work.
The only thing it's ever worked for was Mike Hammer. Mickey Spillane's Mike Hammer, I think.
If a generation goes by, like in the 50s, the original Mike Hammer, and then it goes into like the Stacy Keach 80s
not
one.
When an actor dies and you're going to try in that same show, replace him with
exactly.
else.
You cannot do that. It will not. It did not work in Hardy Boys, Nancy Drew mystery movies from the mid to late 70s too, when they replaced Nancy Drew to a contract dispute. It just doesn't work. Not that the actress was bad, but it's like you couldn't replace Columbo.
And it sucks because I mean I like watching these shows, and you're never taking account that the actors just don't like the show. Say big hit. That was Pete Duell's case. He didn't like the show. he also had problems as it is working for Universal. But that being said, though, like I said, leave a comment down below and just let us know what you thought of the movie. If you've seen this movie, let us know. Do you think it's great? Do you agree with us? Do you think we're wrong? And movie suggestions, man. Or you just want to say hi, because the algorithm, the more you guys leave comments, that shows that YouTube that you guys actually care about our channel and helps share it out. Because right now we're trying to get the watch time up. We have over 1,000 subscribers, but we're not monetized at all because we don't have the watch time. So go back, watch old stuff. Even if you just put on a playlist and just put the mute button on, I don't care. We're just trying to get it though, because it's kind of cool. Like, it's kind of bittersweet. We have the 1,000, but we don't have the watch time.
Yeah, we do this for fun. So, we always appreciate you guys spending time with us. That's the best thing that you can do. Obviously, it's nice when you do it. So we try to take a different chill approach to it, even though we analyze it. We don't really research it. We want to talk off the cuff. That's the magic of the show. Appreciate everybody retweeting, letting us know that. Had some people reach out to me from our Columbo reviews, which I thought was interesting. I thought, wow, how could a show over 50 years old generate such interest? Yet it does. So for people that are old, new, it's always wonderful to talk about something. That's the fun part of it. Yeah,
and one more thing is that on Sunday, we're gonna Professor Pixel will be with Rob, and they will be going over the James Bond thing.
Yeah, we're going in order because the young 20-something has not seen most of the James Bond, so we fit one in between changing our season 1 reviews on, which is our Extreme TV version, where we talk about every episode of season 1 of a particular show. We've done Haven, we've done Resident Alien, we've done Twin Peaks, all the seasons of that. We've done Dark Shadows, the revival. We've done several on there to check. So we're looking for another TV show to do, whether it's Millennium, X-Files, TJ Hooker. We don't really know at this point, but we're going to be deciding soon. So we like to put a Bond in there. And this one's going to be Timothy Dalton's first one, which is going to signify some major changes in the Bond franchise. And of course, we know that that's License to Kill, or no, it's not actually License to Kill, because that's the second one with the best Bond villain of all time, which we'll argue and debate later with Sanchez. The Living Daylights, yes, where he says, "Stuff it, I don't shoot amateurs." Damn, I love Timothy Dalton. Always loved him from Flash Gordon on too. But we'll talk about that 6 p.m. Eastern Sunday. But
thank you all for being here. We'll see you on Sunday.
Good night now.
Have a happy 4th.
Yes, happy 4th of July. Go shoot some fireworks off. America.
Burgers and beer.
God, guns, and guts.